Hello dear students, welcome to the class on hematopoietic system. So in this class, let us learn about vitamin B12. So coming to the specific learning objectives for today's class, at the end of this session you should be able to explain the dietary sources, metabolic functions of vitamin B12, should be able to explain the utilization, vitamin B12 deficiency and its manifestations, and you should be able to describe the uses and adverse effects of vitamin B12. So coming to the vitamin B12 and folic acid, so these vitamin B12 and folic acid are considered to be as maturation factor. So remember they are considered as a maturation factors. So what happens when there is a deficiency of these vitamin B12 and folic acid is if there is a deficiency of these two maturation factors, this can result in megaloblastic anemia. Megaloblastic anemia. So these megaloblastic anemia will be characterized by presence of large red cell precursors in the bone marrow, and there will be short-lived uh, progeny in the peripheral blood. So there will be large and short-lived red blood cell progeny in the peripheral blood. So coming to the dietary forms of vitamin B12, so it is the cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin or the complex cobalt containing compounds which are present in the diet, and it is referred to as vitamin B12. So coming to some of the interesting points with respect to the history, it was a Thomas Edison. It was the Thomas Edison who described a case of anemia which is not responding to iron, and later it was called as pernicious anemia. So pernicious anemia was not responding to the iron. And also when they saw the gastric mucosa of an individual who was suffering from pernicious anemia, they saw a atrophy of gastric mucosa. It was later the Maynard and Morphy gave liver extract in the diet in such patient, and they cured of pernicious anemia. So for this, the Minute and Morphy got a Nobel Prize, and it was later the Kessel who gave a hypothesis that there was an extrinsic factor which is present in the diet and intrinsic factor which is present in the stomach, which are responsible for enzymatic function. So here the extrinsic factor in the diet forms the vitamin B12, and it is the intrinsic factor which is released from the stomach which is necessary for the absorption of the vitamin B12. So one more thing you should remember is vitamin B12 occurs as a water soluble thermostable red crystals, and they are synthesized naturally by microorganisms, and plants as well as the animals acquire it from the microorganisms. So coming to the dietary source of vitamin B12, they are present abundantly in liver, kidney, sea fish, egg yolk, meat and cheese. And very important thing you should remember is in case of those individuals who are on strict vegetarian diet, they will be more prone for vitamin B12 deficiency, because the only vegetable source of vitamin B12 is legumes, that is pulses. And one thing you should remember with respect to vitamin B12, even though the vitamin B12 is synthesized in the colonic microflora of the intestine, but largely they are not available for absorption. So commercially vitamin B12 is synthesized or produced by Streptomyces griseus. This is the same thing which is producing the streptomycin. So what is the daily dietary requirement? It is 1 to 3 micrograms, but in case of pregnancy and lactation, the dietary requirement goes up. So coming to the metabolic functions of vitamin B12, So they are mainly indicated in case of megaloblastic anemia. So deficiency of these can lead to megaloblastic anemia, and there will be difficulty in distinguishing whether the megaloblastic anemia is really caused due to the vitamin B12 or due to a folic acid. So, what are the active coenzymes of vitamin B12? So, they are deoxyadenosyl and methyl cobalamin. They are involved in many multiple enzymatic reactions, like they are involved in conversion of homocysteine to methionine. So, this methionine gives a methyl group thing, which are required for many metabolic reactions as well as protein synthesis, and they also help in production of tetrahydrofolic acid, which is involved in many physiological functions. And vitamin B12 deficiency leads to trapping of tetrahydrofolic acid in a methyl fol, which is called as methyl folate trap. So, if there is vitamin B12 deficiency, which lead to the methyl folate trap, this will lead to interference with number of responses which involves one carbon transfer reactions. So defect in one carbon transfer reactions can affect the purine as well as pyrimidine synthesis due to the folate trap, and also there will be inavailability of thymidylate for DNA production. If you remember, these maturation factors like vitamin B12 and folic acid is mainly required for DNA synthesis. So when there is a deficiency of these two, so there will be defect in the DNA synthesis. So and also it is required for conversion of malonic acid to succinic acid, which is an important step in the propionic acid metabolism. So deficiency of vitamin B12 lead to accumulation of methyl malonic acid, which is mainly responsible for demyelination. So accumulation of methyl malonic acid it will be responsible for demyelination in case of vitamin B12 deficiency, but it is not seen in case of pure folate deficiency because this reaction does not require any folate. So this it is also involved these active forms of vitamin B12 are involved in conversion of methionine to S-adenosyl methionine. So if there is a vitamin B12 deficiency, there will be interference with the conversion of methionine to S-adenosyl methionine, and S-adenosyl methionine is mainly required for synthesis of phospholipids and myelin. So what happens if there is a interference with this function? So there will not be synthesis of phospholipids and myelin in the neurons. And overall vitamin B12 is required for cell growth and multiplication. Interference with the vitamin B12 absorption as well as deficiency can affect the cell growth as well as multiplication. So coming to the utilization of vitamin B12, so vitamin B12 is present in food as a protein conjugates, and it will be released by cooking or by proteolysis, which will be facilitated by the gastric acid which is present in the stomach. So after the release from the proteolysis as well as by cooking or which will be facilitated by gastric acid, the intrinsic factor which is released from the stomach from the parietal cells will combine with vitamin B12 to form a complex. This complex will attach to a specific receptor which is present in the intestinal mucosal cell, and it will be absorbed into the body through active carrier mediated transport. So the transport of this vitamin B12 in blood, it will be taken care by a specific globulin that is called as transcobalamin 2. So if there is a congenital absence of transcobalamin 2 or presence of abnormal proteins which can occur in liver or in case of bone marrow diseases, this may interfere with the delivery of vitamin B12 to the tissues. And also, if you could remember, the vitamin B12 are especially stored in the liver. So, in case of liver diseases, the vitamin store ring capacity will be lost. So you should remember that vitamin B12 is not degraded in the body, but it is mainly excreted by bile. So it undergoes enterohepatic circulation. Since it undergoes enterohepatic circulation, its action will remain for longer duration of time. So in case of absence of intrinsic factor or malabsorption condition, the vitamin B12 deficiency develops much more rapidly. But to deplete a vitamin B12 from a body, it requires normally 3 to 5 years of total absence of vitamin B12 in diet is required to deplete the normal body stores. So vitamin B12 is directly as well as completely absorbed after intramuscular as well as the subcutaneous injections. And whenever if you give a pharmacological doses, higher doses, if you are given through orally or parenterally, large part of it will be excreted through urine because the plasma protein binding gets saturated. So once the plasma protein binding gets saturated, the free forms of vitamin B12 will be filtered at glomerulus and it will be lost through urine. So remember that these are the two forms, these are dietary forms. So this hydroxycobalamin is more protein bound and better retained than the cyanocobalamin. So remember, hydroxycobalamin and cyanocobalamin are the dietary forms of vitamin B12. So hydroxycobalamin is more protein bound and better retained than the cyanocobalamin. So what are the things which can cause vitamin B12 deficiency? So it can occur due to Addisonian pernicious anemia. It can occur due to chronic gastritis or gastric carcinoma after gastrectomy due to the abnormal intestinal flora. There won't be any absorption taking place in such conditions. And also in case of malabsorption, basically due to the damage in the intestinal mucosa and also due to the bowel resection and inflammatory bowel diseases. And also due to the abnormal flora present in the blind loop syndrome and fish stay form can lead to vitamin B12 deficiency. And also especially in the strict vegetarian due to the less availability of vitamin B12 through vegetable sources, it can lead to nutritional deficiency. And also there will be increased demand in case of pregnancy as well as infancy. If you won't provide a demand of vitamin B12 in such condition, it can lead to vitamin B12 deficiencies. So what are the manifestations of this vitamin B12 deficiency? It can lead to megaloblastic anemia, it can lead to glossitis as well as GI disturbances and many neurological complications. It can lead to subacute combined degeneration of the spinal cord. It can lead to peripheral neuritis where there will be diminution of vibration, position sense, paresthesia and depression of the stretch reflexes. And also muscle will become weak, there will be ataxia, incoordination of the movement, mental changes, poor memory, and mood changes, mainly because of the demyelination. And also, they can go for hallucination. So, what are the preparations and dose and the administration of these vitamin B12 in case of vitamin deficient patient? You should be knowing. So, in case of vitamin B12 deficiency, you will be giving either the cyanocobalamin or hydroxycobalamin. Both are available in the form of oral as well as injectable forms. They are usually combined with vitamins and also they can be combined with or without iron preparations. So hydroxycobalamin is mainly preferred for parenteral preparation to treat vitamin B12 deficiency. The main reason for preferring hydroxycobalamin is they have got high plasma protein binding capacity and also they retain better in the blood. So coming to the prophylactic dose, so prophylactically if there is a predisposing factor which can lead to vitamin B12 deficiency, in such case you can give 3 to 10 micrograms per day oral at patient who are at risk of developing deficiency. And therapeutic doses you can give oral vitamin B12. So, but the absorption from the intestine is unreliable, and you can give injectable vitamin B12 in case of deficiency, mainly due to the absence of intrinsic factor in the stomach. So hydroxycobalamin can be injected through IM route 1 milligram intramuscularly daily or alternate days for 2 weeks, and you can keep a maintenance dose of 1 milligram injected every 1 to 3 months. So coming to the methylcobalamin, it is an active coenzyme. It is one of the form of vitamin B12. So it is required for synthesis of methionine and S-adenosyl methionine. So this both the methionine as well as S-adenosyl methionine is required to maintain the integrity of the myelin. So it is basically helpful in correcting the neurological defects which is arising from the diabetes, any alcoholic complications or peripheral neuropathy. So what are the uses of vitamin B12? So it is used in the treatment of vitamin B12 deficiency. So you can add oral folic acid as well as iron preparation along with vitamin B12 because the brisk hemopoiesis may unmask the deficiency of vitamin B12 or other cofactors. So the symptomatic improvement can be seen just in 2 days. There will be improvement in the appetite, patient feels better, the mucosal lesions will heal in 1 to 2 weeks, there will be increase in reticulocyte count, the hematocrit as well as HB start rising after 2 weeks, platelet count will get normalized in 10 days, and the WBC count will be normalized within 2 to 3 weeks. So what is the time taken for complete recovery? It is mainly depends on the severity of the anemia the patient is having, and also the neurological. If the patient has any neurological deficit, the improvement with neurological deficit will take a little bit time, so it can take several months to recover, and the full recovery may not occur if vitamin B12 deficiency is of severe nature, and it can persist for more than 6 months or more. So coming to the prophylaxis, so prophylactically it is given in patients who are predisposed for vitamin B12 deficiency, like for example in case of pregnancy or infants, and megadoses of vitamin B12 are required in case of neuropathy, psychiatric disorders, cutaneous sarcoids, and it is used as a generalized tonic to allay the fatigue and to improve the growth, but these part of treatment is questionable. So it can be used in tobacco amblyopia. Hydroxycobalamin is used here, where it helps in trapping the cyanide derived from tobacco to form cyanocobalamin. And the massive doses of hydroxycobalamin is required in case of treating cyanide poisoning. And what are the adverse effects of vitamin B12? So vitamin B12, even if you give it the larger doses, they are quite safe in nature. Only the reaction can occur is due to the allergic reaction due to contaminants present in the injection formulations, and it can lead to anaphylactic reaction due to sulfide present in the formulations. So IV injection should be avoided if the patient experiences anaphylactic reactions. So coming to the summary of vitamin B12, so vitamin B12 is an essential cofactor. So you have methylcobalamin and deoxyadenosylcobalamin. They are the active coenzymes of vitamin B12, which are involved in many metabolic functions. And vitamin B12 complexes, dietary form of vitamin B12 complex with a intrinsic factor. This is responsible for the absorption of vitamin B12 in the distal ileum through active transport system, and the dietary source as well as the preparations which are available for administering vitamin B12 in deficiencies are cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin. It is the hydroxycobalamin which is highly protein bound and it retains in the blood for a longer duration of time. And basically they are used in treatment of pernicious anemia, anemia after partial or total gastrectomy, dysfunction in the distal ileum, and in case of strict vegetarian. So what are the adverse effects? Adverse effects are usually they are uncommon even if you are giving at the larger doses, except for the allergic reaction which can be caused due to contaminants in the IV fluids. So these are the specific learning objectives. I think these specific learning objectives are met in this session. So about you already learned about dietary sources, metabolic functions, how it is utilized, and what happens if there is a deficiency, and what are the manifestations, and what are the uses as well as adverse effects of vitamin B12. Thank you.